T L
It's time!
W
T L
I think we got a show. Oh yeah, we got a show.
W
T L.
And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. That stands for Where's the Line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
Jabron.
Oh, the Parlay Pounder.
You got it. We're back.
Yes, we are, and we're going to get into some hits and misses down the road here, especially talking about some college football games. I definitely had some misses, and then you had a couple as well. But all in all, it was a really fun weekend, a good weekend, and we were both able to cash some tickets.
No doubt.
Mine just might have came at a couple of the bigger games, and they end up being a coin flip, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that college football playoff was a lot of fun to watch. I can't say that I didn't like those two teams winning, but I was definitely betting the other way. So, yeah.
That's how it goes. You don't bet with your heart, you bet with your head. So
Yep.
with that in mind, let's take a look at our first slate of NFL games here, and we have a couple of dandies scheduled for Saturday.
Yeah.
We got the Pittsburgh Steelers in a divisional matchup against the high-flying Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens, just socking it to everybody right now. A 3:30 kickoff on ABC. Your Ravens at home, a 4-point favorite. That total is so low. It has been bet up to, Jabron, it's been bet up to 35.5. I can't believe it. Where do you want to start?
Well, the first thing is the Pittsburgh Steelers need to win this game to stay alive in the playoff race. Not only do they need to win, they need a couple other things to happen. You know, the last week of NFL, this team wins, that team wins. You know, where does everybody end up? But I don't see anything that the Baltimore Ravens have to play for as they're locked into the first seed of the AFC. You know, I probably just expect this, you know, this game is really supposed to be in low temperatures in the 30s, supposed to be kind of rainy as well, which is good for the unders, like you said.
Mhm.
I just don't see anybody for the Baltimore Ravens of note playing in this game, especially Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, so if they sit Lamar Jackson, that's going to be a huge blow to the Ravens. But Pittsburgh, they've been playing out without their quarterback for the majority of the year. Pickett is still on that injury list, obviously not coming back. I was looking up and down the injury list. Pittsburgh actually has way less injuries to speak of than Baltimore. So you might be onto something there, thinking that Baltimore is going to rest a few guys, knowing that they've been dealing with, if you remember in week one, they got hit hard at running back and some other skilled positions. They really might want to stay healthy or get healthy as they can get heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, Andy, and Tyler Huntley is a capable backup, I would say, but I'm sure the Ravens would still love to stick it to their rival with their backups, but I just don't see the Steelers losing here. I got them by a touchdown. Mike Tomlin's going to have them ready. There's no excuses for a road team here. Give me the Steelers by a touchdown.
Wow. Now that total has been bet down. It opened up. The early look-ahead line was at 44.5. Now it's all the way to 35.5. Finally, some money on the overs come in to get it back up to 35.5. How are you measuring this one up? I mean, I know it's the end of the season. It's cold. It's Baltimore. All those things, but these are still two NFL teams with professional athletes.
No, I would expect. I would wait until right at the end to bet the over because I think it might get a little lower here. But I would still go with the over. I just do think that there are still capable players to score touchdowns, and the Steelers have to score these touchdowns. So it's not going to be settling for three kind of thing all the time. I really believe that the Ravens are going to push them as hard as they can with a lot of their backups, but the Steelers are still going to score some touchdowns, and I think that over is going to hit pretty early.
Yeah, and believe it or not, the over has hit 4 of Pittsburgh's last 5 games, and we all know about Baltimore and what they've been able to do offensively the last couple of weeks. So that over, especially if you wait a little later, if you think it's going to get bet back down to 35, 34.5, that might be a clever play to look at.
Yeah, for sure, Andy. One note that I want to do In these last weeks, there's incentives for some of these players as stats go. They get bonuses and stuff. One that I'm really looking at, if Odell Beckham Jr. plays, he only needs 5 catches for $250,000. So
Ooh.
I'm guessing that he will play. He will get these catches. So I bet his player prop is right around 3 or 4. I would hit the over on that if he plays. Just make sure you know if he's playing before you hit that prop.
Oh, I love that when actual cash money in the player's hands goes to play into our hands, the props. You gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
All right, let's move on to Saturday night, the nightcap, 7:15 kickoff on ABC. I guess an affiliate of ESPN or what, those two work together.
Yeah.
This is for all the marbles, right? In the
Yes,
AFC South. Indianapolis Colts 9-7 playing host to the 9-7 Houston. Surprise. Houston Texans win, you're in. It's as simple as that, right?
Yeah, I think so, Andy. There's 3 teams at 9-7 right now in the AFC South, the Jaguars and these 2 guys. So I believe 2 teams should be able to get in no matter what. Yeah, the guy that loses is probably out. So, but this I believe when you're in kind of type of situation here, I think it's going to be a really competitive game. One of the best of the weekend. Obviously, that's why it's slated for prime time on Saturday. I really have jumped on this Texans bandwagon as of late. The Colts defense has been an issue all season. They're going to really struggle here against that superstar in the making, CJ Stroud.
Yeah. And, you've had Minshew mania. You had a severe case of that before.
Yeah.
Are you getting over it?
I am. I just don't think that he's got what it takes to take down this team as of right now. I like Stroud a lot better. I like the way the Texans are playing a lot better.
Yeah.
The Colts are going to have no answer, and that will be the difference in this Texans to get the job done here. I back the Texans. Give me them to win.
There has been Indianapolis money pouring in since this line opened at 2.5. Now I'm seeing across all these different books, it's sitting at a 1, basically a pick 'em type of game. 1.5, still a few books out there you can get at 1.5. And that's with Houston going on the road. Even so, going on the road with so much on the line, you still like Stroud, the Texans, against a home dog here. A lot of times home dog at the end of the season like this, that's a conducive situation.
It really is, Andy. I do believe that the Colts are a little banged up and all that kind of stuff, but I just like the way the Texans team is playing right now. I like the offense. I like the defense just a little bit better than the Colts defense, which is really struggling right now. And I just don't believe that the Colts defense is going to be able to hold CJ in check. So yeah, give me the Texans. I know it's going on the road, but I really think that this team has what it takes to make the playoffs.
Now, complete opposite from the AFC North game we talked about, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. That's going to be outside. That's going to be cold. This is going to be in Indianapolis in Lucas Oil Stadium, indoor, nice conditions, and the total is being bet up, currently at 47.5. How are you measuring this one up, Jerron?
Yeah, I do believe this is going to be a little bit of a shootout on Saturday night, Andy. So I believe that the over should be able to hit here just because, like I said, that Colts defense is not very good. The Texans are suspect at times. And like we just talked about Minshew mania, he is going to let it sling no matter what. So you got Pittman, you got all those weapons down there. You got Jonathan Taylor. He's going to probably score. So I do like the over. I think it's going to be a shootout, but I do believe the Texans are on top.
There it is. I knew a little Minshew mania had to come into play here. And to your point, Indianapolis has smacked that over 5 of the last 6 games. And at home with so much on the line, I think that's a solid play there looking at that over.
Yeah, for sure, Andy. I love it. Love it. One minor note I have on this one, Andy, another incentive, Devin Singletary. He only needs 74 total yards to hit 125K for the year for his bonus. His line right now is at 61.5 rushing yards. I believe that's a lock. Lock that one up. You know that they're going to get him the ball to get this $125,000.
Yeah, coaches want to make him happy, and he's one of those guys that has been able to keep himself healthy throughout the year for Houston. So, yeah, I would expect him to get that payout as well. That's good for Singletary. And once again, good for us being able to play that angle heading into a player prop.
Love it. Love it.
Now, I've saved you from it long enough, but we got to talk about your Carolina Panthers here.
Yep.
They're going to be hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 8-8. Same type of scenario. If they win, they might be in. Carolina's at home, but what do they have to play for? The owner's throwing beers on mad fans. What's going on in Carolina?
I don't know, man. I just wish that these guys were still playing for the team. These are my guys back here, but no, it is a rough sight to see. I do believe that the owner's going to get in a little bit of trouble here. Hopefully, he gets kicked out of the league, but we'll see.
He got fined. He did get fined.
He's going to get fined for sure. But no, I love the Buccaneers to just trounce these guys. I believe the Panthers had a streak going of not getting shut out for one of the longest things ever, and they just got shut out by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't see them putting up points against this team either. The Bucs I think they're going to roll this one. Baker's going to play well against this underwhelming Panthers defense. If you can get this under a touchdown, do it, because it's going to be free money.
Yeah, there's definitely something going on here, because a lot of your point predictors and scoring models actually have this as a coin toss, point either way, and then you're starting to see that point spread start to widen out. It's currently sitting at 4.5, so still under that touchdown. But Tampa Bay at kickoff, they might be closer to 5.5, 6 points. Is that kind of how you're looking at this one?
That's definitely how I'm looking at it, Andy. It's definitely going to get to 6.5, maybe 7 by the time this rolls around. But no matter what, if you can get it under 6.5 anytime, do it. I mean, obviously it looks good right now at 4.5. So that's just the way that I would do it. Carolina just managed 7 first downs and 124 total yards in that shutout last week against Jacksonville. So that tells you that this team is not rolling. They're probably not going to want to leave Bryce out there too much longer to get hurt and all that kind of stuff. So I just like the Bucs here big time.
And those for our listeners who aren't watching on the YouTube channel, you got a Christian McCaffrey vintage jersey along with a Cam Newton. What is that, like an alternate baby blue jersey there?
That's the Color Rush. Yep, Color Rush. Carolina blue.
Oh, the good old days of the Carolina Panthers. So long ago, it feels like.
So long.
Hey, this total real quick hasn't really moved at all. Unlike those other two lines we talked about, it's right there at 37.5 where it opened. I love Baker Mayfield, but I don't know if I can count on the other offense, Carolina's offense, to help out with this.
Yeah, exactly, Andy. I was burned on a huge prop by Bryce Young last week. I had a 5-leg player prop going, and I hit all 4 except for Bryce Young over 165 passing yards. He couldn't even get 165 passing yards. So I do go with this over here, Andy. I do believe Baker probably puts in 3 touchdowns by himself. The Tampa Bay offense, that's all they're going to need to beat this Carolina Panthers team. So I would side with the under. All
right. I was really hoping you were going to say that, because I was going to let you have it. I think the unders, the play on this one. Well, let's take a quick minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. We've been enjoying a Bavarian wheat beer known as the EOS, an unfiltered, fresh, sweet-tasting Hefeweizen. Nebraska Brewing Company, world class in every glass. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I am your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
Jabron.
Oh, the Parlay Pounder.
You got it.
We did that opening round, a couple of Saturday games there for NFL. Now we got to get into the Sunday games, don't we?
For sure, let's do it.
And this could be a lot of fun, because you got one team that might have had a season maybe a little bit better than what a lot of folks were thinking, in the Atlanta Falcons, and the Saints just staying right in the middle of the pack like they always do. Yeah. But if things, if the cookie crumbles their way, they could play themselves into a playoff spot here. They're sitting at 8-8, and they get the Atlanta Falcons at home in the Caesars Superdome, and it's a field goal line. It's a -3 New Orleans Saints favorite. Jabron, this one has it all.
Yeah, it does, Andy. And like we just talked about with the Buccaneers and Panthers, division rivalry game, one team not playing for anything, one playing for that, final playoff spot with the NFC South on the line, Andy. I think I'll probably stick with the Saints here. They posted a pretty solid victory over the Bucs
Yeah.
last game.
Yep.
The Saints are pretty good. They're on a pretty good scoring run right now, on posting 22 or more points in each game of their last 5. So that's pretty dang good for the Saints. As for Atlanta, they've been at 17 or fewer points in the last 3 of 5 games and may have some issues finding room against this pretty decent New Orleans defense. So I just like the team with something on the line to probably have a way better game this week.
Yeah. And when you're looking at Atlanta, what you're really looking at, coaches coaching to keep their job, players playing to keep the coaches happy and to keep their job in the next season. So it's not like they don't have anything on the line. Taylor Heineke actually got back into the game and did really well for Atlanta. Kind of reminded some folks that, oh yeah, this might have been our best quarterback all along. Do you think we're going to see more of Heineke? Because that's what I'm hearing.
I would say that he probably starts this game, and that could be a big spark of motivation for the Falcons. That's why I'm not saying that the Saints are going to blow these guys out. I just don't believe it's going to be that kind of game, but I do believe the Saints probably do win by a field goal. You look at the Falcons, and they posted just 300 yards and 15 first downs against the Bears, and had 4 interceptions as well. So that's what you're seeing, trying to get Heineke into that spot and having less turnovers. So I do like the Saints, but the Falcons could surprise some people here, and it definitely wouldn't surprise me.
Divisional game, end of the year, could really tighten up. I still like New Orleans for the win. I like New Orleans for the cover. 42.5 is your total. Jabron, what do you think of that?
Yeah, Andy, that's probably right where it should be. Like we said, Saints are averaging about 24 points a game right now. This Falcons under 17. I mean, just because there's so much on the line for the Saints, I do believe they're going to try and score often and early. So I would side with the over in this game.
All righty, that's a Sunday high noon kickoff over on CBS. Should we move on over to an NFC North clash?
Let's do it.
My Chicago Bears are at 7-9, taking on the Green Bay Packers that still have a little bit of life in them. They're sitting at 8-8, still trying to vie. A slim chance here for a playoff spot. That total is being bet down to 44, and Green Bay is only a 3-point favorite at home.
Yeah, Andy, I really like the Packers here. I'm sorry to say. Both these teams coming to the game playing really well, but the Green Bay Packers, like you said, have a spot to clinch a playoff spot here. The Packers have been pretty inconsistent this season, obviously, but they have scored 33 points in each of their last 2 games, Andy. Green Bay will also have the home field advantage, like you said, which is huge in this situation. Going to be cold up there. Chicago has won 4 of the last 5, and their offense has scored at least 27 in the last 3 or 4. So this should, no matter what, should be a very, very good game, Andy.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, a lot of the point predictors actually have Green Bay kind of pulling away at the end there, but then you're seeing the line coming out of Vegas and all the books tightening up and staying at 3. So it makes me think, well, something's going on there, and it's probably that end of season divisional game. And I alluded to it earlier, and we've talked about it, how end of the season here, funny things come into play, like, oh, what are they playing for? They're not trying to stay injured. They don't want guys to get hurt. I think Chicago's on the other end of this. This is where you have a motivated quarterback in Justin Fields that wants to keep his job. He is playing for his job. Eberflus, the word is, the head coach of Chicago, is that he's going to be re-signed, but I don't know if he officially has been yet. So he's kind of coaching for his job. So there's a lot of things on the line for Chicago here, so to where they can't afford to go into Green Bay and just roll over. And oh, by the way, they could end the season, just one game under 500, have a lot of positive momentum and still a decent draft spot. Not that that's going to play into any of this anyhow. I think that's such an played type of scenario. Oh, we're going to lose games for a draft spot. But point being is, I think Chicago's coming to play. And if I can get this point spread to move off of 3.5, 4, I'm all over Chicago. I don't know if you like them that much, but I think it's going to be a field goal or less type of game.
Yeah, the 2 things that I'm looking at here, Andy. 1, the Bears are only 2-6 on the road this season, and this is going to be a very difficult place to play this Sunday. The other thing I'm looking at is one of those bonuses. Another one.
Here we go.
Georgia Love, $500,000 if the Packers win. If they win, get a playoff spot. So his over-under is only sitting at 240 passing yards for his player prop too. I believe that goes way over. This guy is going to be doing everything he can to win this game. $500,000 in the bag if they win this game.
All they got to do is win, and he gets 500,000.
That's it.
Man, that's putting a lot of pressure on all of his teammates too. Then,
yes, it is.
Jeez, well, what do you think of that total then at 44? That's pretty much where it opened up. Not a lot of movement there on that over/under.
No, if the Green Bay Packers want to win this game, I do believe they're going to have to score some points, Andy. So I do like the over because, like you said, Justin Fields playing very, very well right now. Yeah. He is going to get in the end zone. He is going to get in the end zone. So I do believe the over hits here. The Packers win, and they go to the playoffs.
Well, two little things to think of. Chicago has covered 5 of the last 6 games, and the under has smacked 6 of the last 9 games for Chicago. So a little pause, a little warning there heading into Lambeau Field on a cold January 7th day.
Gotta love it. All
righty. Well, we got plenty of time then to really talk about, in my mind, the game of the week here. This one has it all. The Miami Dolphins at 11-5 are hosting the Buffalo Bills, the resurging Buffalo Bills, who really ended up at about where we thought they would be, right? 10-6, maybe we were thinking 11-5 or 12-4, but they ended up riding the ship. And I don't know if there's a hotter quarterback in the league. You can say Lamar Jackson, but right there in the 2-hole would have to be Josh Allen. He has been playing lights out, and he's not just relying on his legs like early in the season and seasons past. He is airing it out, being really smart with the football.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Andy. Like you said, Lamar Jackson probably the front runner for the MVP and very much well deserved with locking that AFC number 1 seed up. But Josh Allen over the past few weeks, I don't know if anybody can say that there's a better football player in the NFL right now than Josh Allen. This is a massive game in the playoff race, as the winner of this matchup will be the AFC East champion and get to host that beloved playoff game. Miami will have the home field advantage where they are 7-1 this season, Andy, but are coming off a blowout loss on the road to who? Lamar Jackson.
So, right.
Buffalo has won 4 games in a row, but they are only 3-4 on the road this season, Andy. This has everything. Yeah. I cannot wait to watch this game. But if Miami is getting points at home, it is so hard for me to go against that. They are so good at home, and they have a lot to play for too. They want to prove to everybody that they should be in this Super Bowl talk.
Yeah, that just feels so wacky, doesn't it? That Miami is a 3-point dog at home with a game like this. I know Buffalo needs the win maybe a little bit more, to solidify their spot in the playoffs. And Miami's ticked off. I think that is a ticked off team. And I also think you're seeing pause really from bettors across the nation here, because it opened at 2. It's staying right there at about 3. You also have that total. Not a lot of movement. A lot of books had it at 48.5 when it opened. Now it's only at 49. So I think everyone's really looking forward to watching this game. Just maybe not ready to lay a lot of money down on it.
No, exactly, Andy. And I think a lot of people have pushed pause on this game until the game actually starts. The reason being, Andy, is that everybody's high on the Bills right now, and they forced a bunch of turnovers against New England last week, but the game was still a lot closer than people thought. They thought that they should just blow out that team. Buffalo also struggled the week prior when they only won 2 points against the Chargers. Another team that's really down, and they barely beat them. So I believe this game is going to be a lot of fun to watch, but I do believe Miami does have the advantage, obviously being at home, and I think just being the better football team in general.
Yeah, and Buffalo doesn't cover. They've only covered 3 of their last 12 games. And on the opposite end, Miami's like a complete opposite on that. They have covered 13 of the last 9, so only 6 times. And we've seen a couple recently where they haven't been able to cover, but traditionally at home, Dolphins have been money all season long.
Yeah, for sure, Andy. And one of those player props, one of those incentivized things I want to talk about is Tyreek Hill.
Oh, let's hear it.
248 yards to break the single season receiving record, Andy. His over-under on receiving yards right now is at 94.5. It's only at 94.5 for his over-under. I believe that they're gonna try and get this close. I don't believe he's going to get 250 yards. That'd be absolutely wild. But if he can get a couple humdingers real early in this one, a 75-yard touchdown or something like that, this 250 could be in reach for him. That 94.5 is definitely hitting. Give me that over on Tyreek Hill receiving yards.
Stranger things, right? And we've seen this before. The Commanders game comes to mind where he caught that bomb on the very first series for 70 yards for a touchdown. So you pair a couple of those up and you're in business.
You're in business. But no matter what, 94.5, that's easy for Tyreek, especially when they're going to try and get him the ball. And they still have to win this game. And he is an integral part of that.
You're exactly right. So stats aside and all the fun stuff aside, they still got business to take care of.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
Mr. Parlay Pounder, do you got some player props? Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't necessarily have a parlay, but I got some player props that I want people to take a look at with these incentives this weekend. First one I want to talk about is Geno Smith. If he makes the playoffs, it is a $2 million bonus for Geno if they make the playoffs. His over-under at passing yards is at 237 yards right now. I believe that is a lock for him this week. $2 million if they win this week and get in the playoffs. Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams, they have already clinched a playoff spot, but he only needs 29 yards, Andy, to break the rookie wide receiver yards record in the NFL. Look for his catches and his yards that come out later this week. I believe he's going to be getting the ball. Sean McVay is aware of this record and definitely wants him to get it. So definitely over on catches for Puka Nacua. Last one I want to talk about is Jadeveon Clowney. Needs a half sack for $500,000 against the Steelers, who have the 31st offensive line in the league. He is definitely going to go for over half a sack. That is where his line's sitting right now for $500,000. I believe he is going to get a sack. Put money on those guys. They are going to be trying their hardest to make this money, and I love all these lines.
Yeah, I do too. Clowney is only at a half a sack right now.
Yep.
Drop what you're doing, drive to Colorado or Iowa and get that player prop in right now. He is definitely going over. And the defensive coaches are going to be calling plays, dialing him up for him to get those pressures and those opportunities. Well aware of that $500,000 bonus.
No doubt about it. They love to get these guys paid at the end of the year, especially that Geno one. He's going to be airing it out. $2 million if they make the playoffs. It's crazy. So I really like those ones, but I think Tyreek Hill over 94.5 yards is still a lock of the week. They're not going to be able to hold a lid on that guy.
Love it. Love those nuggets there, Jabron. That's why we keep bringing you back, right?
That's it.
Let's take a minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Stock and Rod Company, an outdoor lifestyle brand for those seeking adventure. Whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, they got you covered. Visit stockandrod.com to get your wild game on. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. That stands for Where's the Line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Class, and joined by
Jabron.
The Parlay Pounder. And you've been dealing out some player props here today.
Yeah. Got to do it. Got to give people what they want.
You bet. And we got to talk a little hits and misses, rehash some good times and some bad times with this college football bowl season. And it's been interesting. And the playoff lived up to the hype. Finally, we've had some really competitive, good games last couple of seasons, unlike the first 4 or 5 seasons of this college football playoff system.
Yeah. No, that was so fun. Those games going down to the wire, both of them, totally match and match. It was awesome. Can't wait to watch the national championship.
Yeah. I kind of want to start with a curious game because it was just it was funny for us being Husker fans how this one played out. Not so funny for our Big Ten friends and brothers on the other side of the river. the Iowa-Tennessee game. Tennessee was a heavy favorite, and
Yeah.
I was trying to make a case for Iowa, but I straight up said I wasn't going to bet it. But that total was sitting at like 36
Yeah.
at the time of recording, and we both thought if you had to lean the over, they got to get there, don't they?
Well, you would think that they could score something. They could help them. They could help Clemson out or Tennessee out just a little bit, and that's all they needed was just one score to get over that over. That just couldn't happen. Yeah, that was a big miss on my part. I just thought Iowa was going to be able to score a touchdown.
Yeah, so the ending score was 35-0, and
Yeah.
I saw tickets cash, and I saw tickets that didn't come out on the right end where that total was at 34 and a half up to 36, and then Tennessee winning 35-0. Just a bad beat if you're on the wrong end of that. Iowa just had to do their normal thing and get you a couple field goals, and
Yeah.
you would have got it either way.
No doubt. Yeah. Hawkeyes let me down. Hope they keep doing it. Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple of hits, and these were
Yeah.
some ones that you were very big on, very high on, and I was trying to find a reason that Florida State could hang with Georgia, but you did a lot of research on that, and I brought up all the transfer portals for Georgia, but Florida State, who actually sat out or decided to make themselves eligible for the draft and then not play in the bowl game, they were obviously way more bigger impact players than what Georgia lost. And boy, did the Bulldogs take care of business.
They really did, Andy, and their team total was a lock of the week for me as well. I just knew that they're, even if they were backups, the backups at Georgia are better than the backups at Florida State, and a lot of their big guys did play. So no, it was sad to see that because Florida State had such a great year, but I think they were kind of tugging at people's heartstrings, saying bet on us with that 13-0 record.
Yeah.
I just knew it wasn't gonna happen for the Seminoles. Georgia's gonna roll them. So
Yeah, and that was a 19-point spread, 19 and a half or so when we recorded last week, and Georgia had no problems. I think they might even set a bowl record with the lopsided score that they ended up with there. So everything you said was going to happen happened in a big way for the Bulldogs. So congratulations on that one.
yeah, that was a big one for me.
All right, now let's get into the playoffs where we were split on both of them, really.
Yeah, no, you went 2-0 on the weekend, and that was pretty impressive concerning these two games. Andy, like you said, a couple plays here and there. Both these games go the opposite way. But no, I was really glad that the Big Ten is in the national championship, and that horns down. I'm always horns down, but I really did think Texas was going to pull that upset on Washington.
Yeah. And they had every single opportunity. I could not believe it with that kid getting injured. You hate to see a kid get injured, but I mean, get off the field or have your players pick you up. I felt like nobody from Washington's understood the situation and gave Texas all that time, and the officials gave them some time too in the good old-fashioned Texas Longhorn way, a couple extra opportunities at the end, but it wasn't enough. The Huskies held strong, and it was kind of what I thought, that passing offense just tore up Texas, and Texas is a good defense. I don't want to take away from them, but what did Penix Jr. have, like over 400 yards passing? It was unbelievable.
I mean, this is what I was preaching all year long, Andy, about Penix Jr. being the Heisman Trophy. And I still do believe that he is the best player in college football, the best quarterback, the best NFL prospect other than Caleb Williams.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think everyone said that, and it was kind of funny to see all those tweets. Twitter was on fire throughout the playoffs, but everyone's saying, well, where was this Heisman? Well, you didn't know about him either.
No, he should have won the Heisman Trophy, I believe, with the stats that he had. Just that kid had rushing yards over him at Florida State. So
yeah, and we end up talking about him and his Washington Huskies a lot this season because they're just a fun team to follow, bet on, all those things. Big matchups with Oregon a couple of times.
Yep.
And then let's move on over to the Michigan Alabama game. I'll say it. I felt like I kind of lucked out because at the end there, you thought Bama was at least going to push it into overtime, where they had that one play basically at the goal line and they couldn't punch it in.
Well, I mean, I get giving him the ball. Milrose should have the ball.
Yeah.
Milrose should get the ball, but it has to be a rollout. Have to give him a couple options. It just can't be Cam Newton right up the gut. He doesn't have that in him to do that, especially from like the 3 or 4 yard line. It's just not going to happen. I thought Saban really didn't put his full effort into that play call, especially after 3 or 4 timeouts. What happened before that play? I really believe they need to give him a better shot of scoring that. And I really did think that Bama was going to get it after they pushed it into overtime. So it was, like I said, 2 really, really fun games to watch. I don't know if we've ever been blessed with the playoff being that good. And awesome. I can't wait for the national championship.
It was awesome. It sure was. It was a lot of fun. So, hey, should we look ahead to a couple of college football games left to play?
Can't wait.
All right. The FCS National Championship and some neighbors just to the north of us, South Dakota State. They are the 1 seed, and they've been beating up on teams at home. That's how the playoffs work there. Taking on the number 2 Montana Grizzlies. 1-2 matchup. It's gone chalk. The Jackrabbits are 14-0. The Grizzlies 13-1. This is going to be a 1 o'clock kickoff. Neutral field, obviously, where the Jackrabbits are a 12.5 point favorite. What are your initial thoughts here, Jabron?
Well, the first initial thoughts, Andy, is that South Dakota State has been blowing everybody out.
Yes.
The Jackrabbits are awesome this year, Andy. They have huge wins over excellent teams like Albany, Mercer, North Dakota State earlier in the year, and they even dismantled Drake, which was a playoff team, 70-7. That's just crazy. The discrepancy in red zone, Andy, however, SDSU is a juggernaut. It comes away with 96.3 of red zone trips with scores, 82% of those with touchdowns, Andy. This is, they have it all around. This team is a juggernaut. And my first initial thought is this is going to get over 14 points by this game. So if you're on South Dakota State, bet it now because it's going to get bet up well over 2 touchdowns.
I bet you're right. But I just want to say this. The Grizzlies are 8-0 all time over the Jackrabbits. So I almost feel like it's a little bit of a revenge factor, too, for South Dakota State, where they're really going to want to make a statement here and blow out the Grizzlies and get them by that, comfortably get that 12.5.
Yeah, Andy. And I'm no way, shame, or, whatever, giving flack to the Montana Grizzlies. They've had to fight and claw, while their opponent here kind of blindfolded into Frisco here. But their last 2 playoff games not only went into overtime, but featured outrageous plays to get the Grizzlies over there. Their receiver return man, Junior Bergen, is playing the most single dynamic football of anybody in college football. He had 2 touchdown returns in the win over Furman. So you know that this guy is going to be in the league and probably going to be making some noise here very soon.
And that was a fun game to watch, too, in the snow, in Montana. You have a picture in your mind what it should look like, what it should feel like, what college football that is. And that's exactly what you get from Montana and South Dakota State. It's just that, man, South Dakota State has the firepower. They're the home team. I might be a little bit of a homer bet here, but I'm on the Rabbits.
Yeah, Andy, it has to be. Like we said, if Bergen can make a little bit more magic, the Montana Grizzlies can make this competitive. However, I think this will get to a 17-point favorite by the end of it, and the lines are going to be right. I got South Dakota State winning by 3 scores, easy.
All right, let's head to Houston. Where a couple of 14-0 teams are squaring up. The Washington Huskies, the Michigan Wolverines. It doesn't get any bigger than this. January 8th, 6:30 kickoff at NRG Stadium in Houston. And your Wolverines, kind of an odd number here. They are a 4.5 point favorite right now.
Yeah, Andy, the first thing that I think about is Michigan State. I believe the Michigan Wolverines are a better team overall in terms of taking care of the ball, offensively, physical in the trenches, and they have an elite defense, Andy. The Washington Huskies, on the other hand, pass defense, 126th in the country. I question its front 7 can handle this Michigan physical offensive line. Michigan, I think, is going to play a little bully ball here, lead the clock, and, ugly its way to a national title. I do believe this.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way. Just right on the nose. I think Michigan is a little bit tougher, more traditional type of football team. And they showed that with Alabama. They're able to push Alabama around a little bit. However, I really like, and I mentioned it last week, and I've been mentioning it throughout the season. I really like Washington's offensive line. They're going to be able to hang in there with Michigan's pass rush. They're going to be able to protect Penix Jr. It's just that when that fourth quarter rolls around, I do think a couple players will get loose. And also Michigan, the back end of their defense, the safeties, the corners, they're big-bodied, athletic dudes. They are dudes. You're not going to see guys running free, blown assignments almost sometimes like you saw with Texas. Just a much more disciplined and physically gifted team, if you ask me. The Michigan Wolverines are going to present to the Huskies here. So 4.5 though, it's over. These games really tighten up at the end.
No, I agree with you, Andy. And with all that being said about Michigan, I don't want to get, so high on Michigan that I can't come down from it. Washington still has the best player on the field, I believe, with Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah.
When he's cooking, he is impossible to stop. Penix Jr. is too comfortable in the pocket. He's throwing to NFL caliber wide receivers, I believe. And we've seen star quarterbacks, Andy, will their team to a national championship in the past years. Think about Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Winston, Newton, Tim Tebow. These guys were undermatched in every other category probably except the quarterback. So I believe that they have a chance to win this game. And 4.5, you might take a flyer on it because I think it's going to be a field goal.
Both of these teams cover. Washington has covered 4 of their last 6. Michigan's on a little bit more of a run where they've covered last of their 8 of their last 10 games. They've also smacked the over 8 of their last 10 games. Have the Wolverines. Washington's been smacking the over all season long. This total set at 56. I'm looking over.
Over. Especially if Washington has any chance to win this game, it's going to go over. I believe that they're going to push Michigan to, not do what they want to do the entire time, playing that bully ball, bleed the clock. I believe that McCarthy, if he wants to win this game, is going to have to make a couple plays that he's not comfortable with, and Corum's going to have a huge day. Like we said, Andy, you can sometimes have the better team, but sometimes all the other team needs is that superstar quarterback. We've seen it time and time before, especially in college football. So I really like the Huskies plus 4.5.
Oh, man, if I had to lean, I got to lean with you. But I've been on the Huskies all season long. I actually had to witness Michigan beat up on our Huskers at home. So that leaves quite the impression on a guy as well. So I'm really maybe looking for this line to get out of whack. If it gets any wider, I think you have to jump on the Huskies, don't you?
Yeah.
Because that offense is going to keep them close. And like I mentioned, I like that offensive line. They're not going to let Penix Jr. get beat up too bad. They haven't all season long, regardless of who they're taking on.
He gets the ball out quick.
Woo! All right. Well, we've got our college football in. Should we gear up for some college basketball coming up?
Let's do it. Can't wait.
All right. Don't go anywhere, folks. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
Jabron,
the Parlay Pounder.
You got it. We're back.
Hey, and we've had almost a football overload. What would you say, the past 3 or 4 months? Actually, good to talk a little round ball here.
For sure. I mean, obviously, everybody knows football is king, but, we getting into these January, February, March. That's all basketball. And us, we like that college basketball a little bit more.
And I feel like we got a little bit more pep in our step here for this segment because Nebraska is coming off a good win over Indiana last night. You also had the Creighton Blue Jays with a bounce-back win, convincing win over Georgetown. But first things first, we got a top 25 matchup that we want to highlight here and talk about. The North Carolina Tar Heels, ranked 8th in the nation, are going to be taking on the 16th ranked Clemson Tigers, who are 11-2 right now on ESPN2 Saturday, 11 a.m. Tip-off. That's going to get us started. What a fantastic matchup. Believe it or not, the Clemson Tigers got the look-ahead line here. They are the favorites.
Yeah. This is probably going to be a coin toss when it gets to game time, like you were just saying, Andy. Probably either way with the line. Clemson being at home probably gives them the slight edge. This is a really surprising Clemson team whose only loss is to a top 15 team in Memphis at Memphis by 2 points, losing 79-77. On the other hand, North Carolina, they're always good, Andy. And you look back on their last 5 games, they've played over 3 teams in the top 25, losing to Connecticut in a close one, and then Kentucky in a close one, but then kind of getting the bounce back game against number 11 Oklahoma, beating them 81-69. So these teams have been playing very good competition so far, and I can't wait for this matchup.
Yeah, and I caught a little bit of that Pittsburgh game on TV a couple days ago with North Carolina, and it just felt like, they won 70-57, but it felt like they were in control pretty much the whole time.
Yeah. No, you got to like that, Andy. And then when you got a person like R.J. Davis putting in over 20 points a game, that's kind of what he does. And he kind of seems like he shows up for those big games. Like I said, against Oklahoma, he had 23, Kentucky 27, and then number 5 Connecticut had 26. So expect R.J. Davis to put in some points against this top 25 ranked Clemson team.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up because he's a fantastic guard for the Tar Heels. And then you got a contrast here where Clemson, they do a lot of their scoring through the post. Their big man, P. Hall, he's averaging over 20 points per game as well. So it's going to be fun to see, who's going to be able to prevail. Pound it inside or score from the perimeter and everywhere else that, Davis can get to his spots. So you're going to have a guard-heavy team versus a post center-heavy team. It should be another ACC, one of those instant classic type of matchups. Coin flip, I kind of like the home team here.
Yeah, Andy, you kind of got to look at Clemson just because of, their record at home is obviously flawless to this point. But like you were saying, their big guy, PJ Hall over there in Clemson, he is just kind of a scorer. He only has about 6 rebounds a game. If you remember from a couple Final Fours ago, Armando Bacot for North Carolina still averaging over 11 boards a game with scoring points as well. So they got the bangers as well over at North Carolina. Let's see if he can put a lockdown on PJ Hall. I'm taking the Tar Heels.
Yeah, Hall doesn't get his noses dirty, but they do got Shefflin, a power forward, another center who does lead the team with 10 boards per contest. So it should be good. I just was kind of going off their point average there, guards versus the center, how they go about their scoring for these two, elite teams, really.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. I just have to go with the blue blood UNC Tar Heels.
Well, let's shift gears here and get into some Big East ball.
Let's do it.
The Creighton Blue Jays. I don't believe they're ranked any longer, but you know who is? A team that they're going to be hosting in Providence. That's going to be a 1 o'clock tip-off on FS1. And this has just been a fun matchup over the years, extremely stressful for both fan bases. Since 2000, when Creighton has since they've joined the Big East, this has pretty much been split right down the middle. Providence leads 13-11 all-time matchups. Oh, and by the way, the Friars won the last game, a double overtime thriller last year in Providence. What was that? 94-78 or something like that. 94-86. But that was in Providence. The tables have churned. The game is going to be played in Omaha this time around.
Yeah, Andy. And, it was like you were saying prior to this, Creighton getting that really nice win on Tuesday against Georgetown really got them out of a funk, I believe. They just came off back-to-back losses, Marquette and Villanova, obviously in overtime, but 2 really, really good games, Andy. But something that really points out to me with Providence is their win over Marquette, 72-57 a couple weeks ago in December. So that this team can score the basketball, Andy, but it really looks like they're a very, very good defensive team.
Yeah, they are, and they traditionally have been. They do have a new coaching staff over there, do the Friars. However, they are coming off a loss to Seton Hall, only
Yeah.
gave up 61 points, but it wasn't enough. They lost 61-57. So sometimes, you hear about teams like Creighton where, they're so reliant on three, and, they have to outscore teams. Well, defensive teams have to outscore the opposition as well. And this season for the Creighton Blue Jays, the number of scoring options, elite scoring options that they have, I'm leaning heavy on the Blue Jays here. I love them at home. You got the revenge factor. You got an even matchup. You got a team that struggles scoring the basketball, and then you got one of the best teams in the nation scoring the basketball in the Blue Jays. Give me Creighton at home.
Yeah, for sure. People, watch this line. If Providence is favored at all, make sure that you hop on that Creighton Blue Jays money line, because that's going to be plus money for you. I believe Providence is probably going to be maybe a slight point favorite in this one. Creighton plays well at home. I think Creighton gets it done as well.
Yeah, and a lot of this comes down to timing, right? We always say that you don't want to peak too early. Well, Creighton, I felt like they were getting so much offseason publicity, ranked within the top 10. They got served a big piece of humble pie. Already have dropped 4 games. They're 10-4. Not bad, but they're ranked 8th in the Big East. Yeah. And I think there's more than enough season for them to bounce back, get a ranked team, solidify a good seeding in the tournament. All that's still in front of the Blue Jays, and it starts January 6th, Saturday, 1 o'clock in Omaha.
Can't wait to watch it. It's going to be a fun one.
All righty. Should we talk about the game we've been thinking about?
Let's do it.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers are going to be taking on the Wisconsin Badgers. That's a 1:15 tip-off on BTN. Huskers just knocking off Indiana. A really fun game to watch if you're a Husker fan, which we are. Wednesday night, that was on BTN. Oh, Kevin Kugler was on the call. Love that guy, home state guy, but man, I just felt like he was always trying to reel it in with the Huskers, waiting for that comeback to happen. It never did, Kevin. The Huskers prevail. They blew Indiana out, and at that time, Indiana was a 10-2 team, 2-0 in the conference. So these are the games that Nebraska has not won since joining the Big Ten. In fact, this is the best start a Nebraska team has had since joining the Big Ten.
Yeah, for sure. And I can't give too much flack to Kevin because we're all sitting there thinking the exact same thing. When are the tides going to turn for the Huskers? You know what? You look down the resume, Andy, and you just think about teams that we normally can't beat. Michigan State, Kansas State, and obviously Indiana are all very good basketball teams. When you think about it in general, are they having down years? Maybe, but no matter what, to have a box score against the Huskers where we win those games, it's very good to see the Big Red in the winning column. Now, this is a little bit different of a game. Wisconsin Badgers are ranked 21st in the nation with a very good stock. Just beat Iowa on Tuesday, 83-72, and also that Michigan State team that I was talking about blew them out by 13 points. So it's a fun matchup, and I can't wait to watch it. I just don't know how big of an edge the Big N has.
Yeah, there's a lot of good points there. Wisconsin did get blown out earlier this season by India. Gosh dang, it was Arizona. Arizona got them 98-73, but they did have that bounce back win, as you mentioned, kind of a workmanlike style, 83-72 over the Iowa Hawkeyes. However, I don't know, if I'm being honest, I don't know how good Iowa is this season. They're only a couple games. They're 2 games above 500 right now, 8-6. So, you're talking about stock. I don't know how much stock I put in the Hawkeyes. Nebraska does have to go on the road here, correct? They got to go to Wisconsin?
Yes, it's in Wisconsin, 115 BTN, yep.
Yeah, and that's tough. And you mentioned the traditional powerhouses that have been and have gotten the better of Nebraska. But, Nebraska hadn't beat Indiana since the Louisiana Purchase
Yeah.
got the better of them last night. So, hey, maybe things have changed. I think one thing you can point to with this Nebraska team, they're big. That was the first thing that post game talked about on BTN was Nebraska was bigger, more physical, and you had never heard a Fred Hoiberg team be talked about in that manner, saying they are big and they are rebounding the basketball. They also turned Indiana over 19 times, which led to 27 points. So, defense travels, as they say.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with everything you said there, Andy, except no matter what, when you look down across the statistic board, Indiana still out-rebounded us 36-29. I do believe this is going to catch back up with the Huskers at some point. I just don't, because in Big Ten basketball, it is going to be big bully ball, especially with those big teams like Purdue, like Wisconsin, like Maryland, when they got those big guys. So I just do believe we need to get, I don't know how to do it, but our best rebounder comes off the bench, and I don't believe that's a good sign for the Huskers.
What's a number in your head that you're thinking? If it's Wisconsin +8, are you going towards the Huskers?
You mean them favored by 8?
Yeah.
No, I do believe that this will go down to the end. I do believe that we have a chance of winning this, but it's going to have to be, our guys are going to have to show up. Wilcher's going to have to hitting. Tominaga's going to have to be hitting, and Mast is really going to have to play big under there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't know if we have what it takes to put up against big teams like this that are ranked in the top 25. I know that we can play with them. I just don't know if we can overcome a late surging team at home.
Well, and Tominaga didn't have a great first half, but that being said, he still scored 10 points against Indiana, then just churned it on, flipped a switch, draining Tommy bombs from everywhere against Indiana. 28 points, that was a game high. And we love to do hometown, shout outs, Nebraska shout outs. Baylor Shireman still leads Creighton in rebounds and points per game. And we're going to have some Nebraska boys playing in this game as well. Hoiberg's doing a fine job being the 2 guard, putting into some defensive minutes and everything else, taking care of the basketball, not turning it over. He's been like a security blanket almost, a calming factor, you could say. And then, of course, a little bit of an X factor that I just hate seeing. The Bellevue West product, Chucky Hepburn, is still up in Wisconsin. He is our primary point guard. Only averages about 9-10 points per game, but he's so smart. Averages about 4 or 5 assists per game. Doesn't turn the ball over. Shoots at a high clip. All those things that a Doug Woodard coached player that you kind of highlight and you talk about. And he's going to want to shine playing the hometown team or his home state team in the Huskers. So if I'm looking for a little edge here or there, it's not only what Wisconsin has done the last 5 years versus the Huskers, it's also having that guard in Chucky Hepburn bringing the ball up the court every time.
No, I definitely like that point. Chucky always seems to have a little bit more pep in his step when he's playing against Nebraska. It just seems that they're a little bit overmatched in this game, Andy. I like the Huskers to keep it very competitive. If that spreads around 8 or 10, I'll take a look at it. But if it's anything, further than that, I don't have much hope for the Huskers in this one. But these are the kind of games that the Huskers have to be in, that they have to be competitive in to, really get some, eyes on them and be a force here in the Big Ten.
Well, and I think that Indiana win those are games that they would typically lose in years past. I do think that might also not allow for Nebraska to creep up on Wisconsin in this spot. So I think Wisconsin's probably going to win as well, but I would love to see the Huskers, and I think the Huskers will keep it close. So I'd like that thought in mind. If it gets over 9.5, I might be looking at sprinkling something on the Huskers on the road.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them to give such a wide spread because of Nebraska's record at 12-2, especially beating some pretty good opponents in the Big Ten. So I doubt it. I bet it's around 4 or 5, and I would have to hammer the Badgers in that case.
Yeah, good point, and I would have to agree. So, well, on that note, that'll about do it for us this week. Please be sure to follow us over on ESPN Tri-City Radio and their Facebook page. Love cranking out the content and those short videos that we put up on Facebook Reels. A lot of good interaction there. Also, our Twitter handle, that has been growing consistently. We're getting a follow, some fan interaction there in our YouTube channel. Got some numbers back from year one, and I got to tell you what, Jabron, over 162,000 views. From nothing to that in 1 year, I got to say, you know, it can be frustrating at times, but I was pleased to see that.
No, that's really cool. Thank you for everybody that's watched and listened, especially on our YouTube page, to grow that. It's a lot of fun. You do a great job of producing all that stuff.
No doubt. Thank you, Jabron, and you to hit the nail on the head. Thanks to all the listeners and viewers. We couldn't be more grateful for it. And then you're holding down the TikTok, right?
For sure. A lot of people reached out to me, you know, before big time games. I usually get a player prop or two in a parlay to go every weekend. So make sure you're finding us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, everything. We got it all rolling.
Just search WTL Sports Betting and you are going to find us.
Yes,
For Jabron, the Parlay Pounder, I'm Andy Klassen. Thank you for listening. This has been WTL.